Okay, so back to some of the other projects with the regular burp size template. So this burp pad template is a little storage container, kind of a makeup bag, cosmetics bag. This has the monogram. You do your monogram first before you cut out your fabric. And then there's basically a dart and a dart and a dart and a dart. You can do that. Add a zipper if you want. Add one of these guys on the top here. You can see I've got all different kinds. If you wanted to go for the goth kind of, look here, we can add this to the zipper. So you decide what it is you want to do. To me, that's half the fun of this. Now, some of you guys know about the snap bags. These guys here, where there's a prairie point here, and we're using the measuring tape. So the measuring tape that I've got over here somewhere, here's the measuring tape, and I've got my measuring tape over here. So this guy here was the inspiration for this guy here and a few others that I'll show you. So we probably all made these things with the measuring tape. When you do the measuring tape, we're going to be putting this inside, and the cheap measuring tapes, this is from the Dollar Tree. You'll find that they don't snap as well, so stack 2 of them together. So when you go to grab, there's 2 inside of here. You can hear them snapping closed. And I've stuffed this full of fabric just to give it some weight, some bulk. So the idea is you can buy, I got this at a yard sale the other day. This is an old one, and it's probably a lot stiffer than this, but it's also thinner. The more expensive tape measures, they're going to be a little bit stronger, but I don't know if I want to spend that money. So from the Dollar Tree, I can get a ton of these and just stack 2 together. We'll talk about the details in just a minute on how we do that, just some little tips and tricks. Here's another one with matching fabric, and this basically has a seam down at the bottom here. So this is where the burp pad comes together, but it's basically kind of like a box pleat. If you think about it, that way it sits up, and now it can hold the bigger makeups and those kinds of things. This is a great little girl's purse too. This doesn't match, but you get the idea that we could add a strap for a little girl. So all kinds of cute things. I've got another one over here. This has a zipper, and then it has a snap inside of here. Not only do you have the measuring tape, but there's a snap, and then you've also got pockets on both sides, and then we've got ribbon. I like to make the crossbody bags for these and add a pocket and a pocket. So those guys. Now I'm going to bring over a bigger one. This one was done with this, but not quite as big. So I made it a little bit smaller, and then this guy here allows me to grab, and you can see how that grabs. So this is great, again, if you want to add one of the little lanyards, whatever it is. If you want to add a handle on here, if you want to add one of my flowers, you know me, put a flower on it, it's always going to make it look better to me. You can see these guys here, there's a bunch of different choices that you have. So this guy here, when you do the snaps, whatever the size it is that you do, they're going to tell you grab, and there are tons of videos out there, they're going to tell you to grab some cheap scissors. Martelli sells these scissors, and we put them on sale fairly often. So these are called measure cuts. I love these guys because they have the measurements here. When you find these on sale, these are really great. There's going to be a point where they're not going to be as sharp anymore because they're really cheap. When they're not as sharp anymore, then we're going to use those for doing this. So you would cut your measuring tapes. I cut just more than I really needed for this width, but figure this is probably where it's going to really be. We're going to be folding that fabric down. We'll go over that in just a minute. And we don't want this sharp point here cutting through your fabric. So we're going to round that off. And once we round that off, then we're going to grab some duct tape. Duct tape, put a piece of tape on, then put another piece, and put another piece. That way, when I hit this edge, I don't ever have to worry about that ripping through my fabric. One of the first bags that I made, I thought I put enough duct tape on, and sure enough, a couple weeks later, that bag had ripped all to pieces. So this guy here, you're going to do 2 sides, down here, if you're going to double these up. And don't tape the others, don't even cut the others, because we're going to do that once we put it in. What I like to do, let's see if I have a burp pad fabric left here. What I like to do when I'm doing the top, and this has the fold, so I'm going to grab my rotary cutter, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this off a little bit. What I like to do, and I'm just going to roll backwards and then go past. What I like to do is have the lining. We're going to pretend that this is the lining here. Oops, we're going to go this way. Yep. Okay, so this is the outside. This is the lining. So we would have actually separate fabric. So we're going to stitch these together. We'll sew it together, but instead of doing the traditional bag, we're going to do that lining, and then this is going to fold over, and then we're going to fold this over again. and then we're going to stitch down here, and then this will go inside here. When you stitch your edges, you don't want this tape to be close to that edge. It's hard to tell, but right inside of here, there's a gap. There's a gap. This tape measure ends here, and this tape measure ends here. So there's a good almost an inch in between these two pieces, and at least a half of an inch from that seam. So we would stitch that down and then stitch that down again. Do your measuring to see how much space you need. We're going to place this inside. Once we get one side in, notice here, you can see how much shorter this is all of a sudden. Oh yeah, this was one of our bigger ones. So you get the idea. Don't cut your measuring tape until you actually start doing this. But then when we've rounded that off, we're going to stick this inside. Then we'll stitch the front and back together. Watch the videos that are out there, and if you want a video specifically on this, then let me know, and I'll film a video on that for you. So these guys are all done with the measuring tape, which I think is a whole lot of fun. Okay, so I want to show you a few other new projects that are done with this size and the bigger size. So let me grab some fabrics. I've been doing Recycle It classes for a while now, and I can't help but buy stuff like this, bedding. You'll find the duvet, the pillow covers, all kinds of stuff for $5, $10, and I go nuts over that stuff. So what we can do with this is decide what it is that I like about this. Do I want it to go this way? And you kind of have to imagine the shape. My fussy cut frames, I'm not making a fussy cut this big, but you could take a box and trace this out, cut that inside out, and use it as a fussy cut frame. And if you're not sure what a fussy cut frame is, go watch some of my videos. The squares are a really good one to watch. My tumbler one is a really good one to watch too. So imagine that this is what I want. So when I cut this out, this is going to make a really great vintage bag. There's so many great things you can do with this kind of stuff. So when you find these, and you find them in your closets too, the things that have the stains on them, all those things, then make bags like this. Now this bag I stitched this morning and I have not pressed it, so it needs a good pressing. So you can see I've added the smaller burp pad shape on the outside as a big pocket. And then this one is this size right here. And then on the back side or the front side, whichever way it is that you want, this was a solid piece of fabric here. And then this was the trim. Let me pull over where this came from. I got a queen size duvet cover, and it had 2 of the pillowcases, and you'll notice here I've just cut this off, and I've added for a strap, it goes this way, I folded that over and then just added some seam tape here, the seam binding tape, and then stitched this along, added it on the front, added it on the back because it's a crossbody bag, so it looks like this. I can wear it this way, I can turn it around and wear it this way. Totally up to you. So you can see I've added a couple of embellishments, and then inside I've added a pocket. It's hard to tell inside of there, but what I did was grabbed one of my pieces of fabric, and as I went to cut, basically just laid it out. Let's grab here and just laid it out. You decide where it is that you want. I'm going to say that we've already trimmed all of this off. I'm going to place this here, and we'll cut around about here. We'll cut around here. We've taken all this apart. All I have is this piece here, and we've cut around, and that basically has my pocket. And that pocket inside right here, this guy here. And I folded this down. When I first made the pockets, they were a great size. And then I decided I really didn't want to have to go dig for my cell phone. I've got a pocket inside. I'm going to turn this out. I've got a pocket inside for my cell phone, for my sunglasses, and for my reading glasses. So you can decide how you like your pockets, but I like cell phone, my reading glasses, and my sunglasses. It's hard to tell, but this one is a little bit narrower than this one. My sunglasses fit in perfectly here, my reading glasses fit in perfectly here, and my cell phone fits in perfectly here. And you see the bottom of the bag? Originally I had it taller, and I was having to reach in and grab. I didn't like doing that. I also, because of the bulk, I stitched this together. I didn't add a lining on here. Now, what I need to do still is take a seam binding tape and stitch around. I did that in my boxes, baskets, and bags video. So if you haven't seen those, it's on the DVD that I have available. Then you can do a seam binding. We're just going to finish that off so it gives it a nicer finish. I did the seam binding here, you can see here, and I did the seam binding here. That way I didn't have to have any extra bulk on here. So we just folded that down. I stitched the seam binding on top and then just did a top stitching along here. The other thing I did on the bag was I took off all of this stuff here, and I added it as a bit of trim. You can go crazy with all of this stuff. That's the problem. You can go crazy with it. And that's my problem, is I can never make up my mind. I have everything you'd ever want. And which do I use? None, because I never do any of it because I'm too particular. Which one will I use? What should I do? So I've added a couple here. What I really want to do is have one of my pink flowers. I had one. This isn't quite what it is that I want it to be. But imagine one of my pink flowers here instead. And then there's a little trim over here. Oh, and I just lost I heard something there. This guy here. I didn't have time to stitch it down. So that is going to be stitched down. But you get the idea. So this done out of these. Out of all those things that you already have. The placemats, the table runners, the tablecloths, all those things that are vintage, old, with the hankies and all that stuff. They really are going to just be a whole lot of fun to do. All right, so let me show you my favorite project, though. Some of you know I love Halloween. I don't love the gruesome crazy, but I love Halloween. Actually, I do love the gruesome crazy, too. So sorry to admit. But this guy here. This, when I saw this jacket, I said, pumpkin. I know this was a pumpkin. It had to be a pumpkin. So I'm going to get that out of the way. So this was done out of the Burp Pad Template. This fabric here was a blouse. So when I found the blouse, again, my garage sale flea market stuff, I knew that that was going to be the lining. You don't have to do a lining because this is a purse that you're going to carry maybe 5 days a year. That's it. I mean, not a whole lot unless you go different places. You can see here that I've stitched the mouth down hand stitched. I've stitched the nose hand stitched. I've stitched the eyes hand stitched, or so you think. I stitched down first by the sewing machine, and then I stitched down. So that way I didn't have to worry about it. Let me show you what I mean. This right here is what you can see for the mouth. I'm going to flip it over so you can see. This is what I did first because I wasn't sure. I can't really see the stitches there. So that was done by the sewing machine. This is done by the sewing machine. But even just doing by the sewing machine, I think that looks pretty cool too. So you just decide. There's 1,000 ways to do these little guys. This is a strap from a purse that I had that I didn't want anymore. So I've added it. And again, it's a crossbody bag. So at Halloween, I can have this and it'll hold my cell phone, my keys, my lipstick, my reading glasses, my sunglasses, and maybe a credit card. And that's about it. So everything that I need for when I'm at a trade show or wherever it is. If you're at Houston, I hope I'll be wearing this at the Houston Market and Houston Festival, so you can look for me there. Okay, so that's a fun project to do too. Okay, so I want to show a few other things. Okay, so I'm going to do really, really fast. Okay, so these guys here, you'll find these at TJ Maxx and Marshalls and all those places for $2, $3, used, Goodwill, that kind of stuff. So if we look, I've got this on the front or the back and this on the front or back. You decide whatever it is that you like. So these I think would be really great purses, and I want to show you with the frame. These guys here, have y'all seen this before? These have come in, they've come out, they're back in, they're back out. So these guys here with this and that burp pad shape, this is the perfect size. Can I find my burp pad? This is the perfect size for this. Look at that. Is that ideal or what? But imagine doing something like this with this and with this, and then a nice silver strap, a chain strap. So that's a fun thing to do too. Here is a table runner. Same thing with the table runner. When you look at these table runners, you can find them all over the place. Again, you're going to decide, do I want this right here? Do I want this right here? Or what do I want? I want this. I'm going to use this to go here, or maybe even see that line that's there. I'd go a little bit further down so it wasn't directly in half. But you get the idea. This kind of material, this gives it some substance. And this is the back side. Actually, look at the front. Doesn't that look even prettier there? So imagine doing something with this. So these guys here are just a whole lot of fun. This has the stiffness, so it gives you really some, great just support. You don't have to do all the battings and the interfacings and all those things. Here's a cute little skirt. You can buy this fabric, but you can probably find the skirt for a whole lot cheaper. Imagine a nice little clutch, one of these guys here for an evening out. And again, you can do the little clutch clip wherever it is that I put it. You can add the little doodads if you want to, totally up to you. On this one, I would certainly be adding her because I just think she's so cool. So imagine this on a little clutch for that. All right, so with that in mind, let me show you another project. This is a skirt. So I've cut the skirt sides down. We place this on here, and when I go to cut, I like this size, but I want it a little bit bigger. So what we would do is fold the fabric in half again. I take this apart and I would do one. I would cut one of these, folding this in half and making it a little bit bigger. When I go to cut, then I just cut this piece out, and I'm basically taking one piece that's already the shape. Let's see if I can grab this. And then one piece we're going to do like this. And then one piece that's basically a square. And when I go to stitch, we're going to use this because this is a little bit bigger. I don't have to cut two exactly alike. I use this and I stitch around here. So now I've increased one by moving that template, and I don't have to worry about that next side. Same thing with the lining too. But what I also like to do with this, the idea of this is make the bag out of this, and now we're going to add pockets. So I thought I had one that was already cut. Can't find it, so we're going to take this. We're going to pretend that that is my, my bag. I can add a pocket like this, but what's really cool is I can add a pocket like this, and I can add a pocket like this. Let's see if I can get this done quick enough for you all to be able to see. Imagine that in this shape. Okay, so when we look at that, we've got this. I've got a pocket, add a little bit more of an angle so the pocket actually is practical, and add a pocket like this, and I probably have them right up to the top. Again, if you want to see this, then you let me know, and I'll film a video on that. Put that down a little bit further, and you get the idea. So that is the Burp Pad Extras. I've shown you a bunch of extra things that you can do with the Burp Pad. That's the traditional size. And then this big one will be available too. I'm not sure if it's going to be called Burp Pad Large because it's not really good enough for it. It's too big for a Burp Pad, but you get the idea. Okay, so watch the Virtual Sewing Expo. If you want to do the Virtual Sewing Expo, you need to sign up under my name. If you sign up under my name on my Facebook or on my winnerdesigns.com website, then it comes back to me, and Margaret knows that I've talked to you guys out there in the world. And it's a good thing for me to be able to just kind of have you all out there. So go to my Facebook, Winner Designs for Sewing and Quilting. Go to my Winner Designs website. You can always email me if you're not sure about it, but there will be a link to sign up for the Virtual Sewing Expo. September 11th through September 24th. It's just for those 2 weeks, and you're going to type in VSE 20. All capital letters, no spaces, if you want to take advantage of that 20% discount on my Winner Designs stuff and on Martelli's stuff on my Winner Designs website. It's only good for 2017 for those dates, September 11th through September 24th. So thanks for being here. Really appreciate you guys sticking around and following me along, and stay tuned because I'll have some more things coming for you too. So take care. Thanks.